morning out of the rack.
Up in the morning out of the rack.
Greeted it done with an early attack.
Greeted it done with an early attack.
First sergeant rushes me off to chow.
The sergeant rushes me off to chow.
And I don't need it anyhow.
But I don't need it anyhow.
Halo, infantry.
Halo, infantry.
Queen of battle, follow me.
Queen of battle, follow me.
How to winterize your car. Winter. The glistening snow, the kids sledding, and that stupid car that won't start. Take some precautions to keep your car running smoothly during the colder months. You will need a good mechanic, a winter survival kit, cat litter, a jack, winter wiper blades, extra wiper fluid, and glycerin. Optional, snow tires, and a car charger. Step 1. Hit the service station for an oil change and a tune-up. Ask them to flush the cooling system and replace the antifreeze, service the battery, check the lights, heater and defroster, brakes, belts and hoses, and the tires. Your tires may run lower than usual in winter, so have them checked periodically. Consider investing in snow tires, which are better on slick surfaces than all-season tires. Step 2. Pack a winter survival kit, including a blanket, small snow shovel, ice scraper, flashlight, safety flares, boots and gloves, energy bars, and water. Step 3. If you have rear-wheel drive, keep a bag of cat litter in the trunk. The weight will help with traction, and if you get stuck in snow, you can spread the litter around the stuck tires for added traction. Step 4. Make sure you have a good spare tire in the car as well as all the equipment to change it, or that you keep your cell phone charged so someone can come help you. Consider investing in a car charger if you don't already have one. Step 5. Get winter wiper blades. They cost about $10 and they're well worth it. The rubber or plastic covering over the wipers keeps them flexible and prevents them from freezing. Step 6. Add winter-grade solvent windshield washer fluid, which will not freeze unless you're in extreme conditions. Not only does a frozen washer tank mean you can't wipe away snow or rain, it can also damage the pumping system, requiring a costly trip to the repair shop. Keep your gas tank as full as possible during the winter months, so the gas line doesn't freeze. Step 7. Auto parts stores sell glycerin for de-icing your locks. Squirt it into the exterior locks to prevent them from freezing. And be sure to keep your de-icer outside your car. It doesn't do much good if it's inside and you can't get in.
Hello, I'm Robert Tanner from the Installation Safety Office in Fort Wainwright, Alaska, Installation Safety Specialist. And today I'm going to talk to you about surviving in the Arctic. Surviving in the Arctic is a lot different than other cold regions of the United States. Temperatures get colder, we get 40, 60 below. It's really important to make sure that you are prepared wherever you go. A lot of people rely on cell phones and things of that nature, but when you get out here in Alaska, cell phones aren't always the best way and they're not always really reliable, so you need to be able to have time. And people talk about temperatures, and the most important thing about temperatures is when you talk about something from 10 below to say 40 below, the cold is cold, but how much time can you survive in that? So time is of the essence. And I'm going to talk about some things that's going to give you that extra time to get some help. Now, one of the first things we want to talk about is we want to talk about survival kits. Now, you can buy one of these roadside kits that you can go in your car, and they can run anywhere from $50 to $100, $150. And they're kind of a wide variety of things. But they may not suit your needs, and they may not suit the Arctic. And I'll give you for one example. I mean, it's always great to have a set of jumper cables. But a lot of what you find in the lower 48, the outer coating does not withstand temperatures of 40 below and becomes brittle. So when you go to use it, the entire plastic coating falls off and you have exposed bare wires. It's completely worthless. And you look here again, this was about a $45 kit. And it's got a few band-aids and alcohol swipes. It's got something to let you know that you need some help. And you've got an emergency poncho and even a blanket and a flashlight with batteries. That's about it. Well, here in Alaska, this just is not going to cut it. You've got to have more important things and things that's going to give you that extra time. Nothing here is going to give a whole lot of time. So we have developed a kit called the Coffee Can Survival Kit. And this kit runs about $40, and you can buy all the stuff separately through local hardware stores or sports stores or whatever else. And it'll run you about $40 to $45. And it all fits in like a paint can or a coffee can. And probably the best way to go. But the remember thing, you have to make it suit for your needs. And I'm going to show you that in just a second. One of the important things about living in the Arctic is making sure that you can survive. When we talk about the cold temperatures up here, what's most important is time. When I talk about time, is how long can you be out there in that cold temperature? How long can you be exposed to extreme temperatures? So the difference between 10 below and maybe 40 below, or even 60 below, which we can get up here, is how much time you can be out there. And the longer time you're out there, the better chance you have of surviving and being rescued. Now I talked about the coffee can survival kit. Now maybe a coffee can or a paint can like this, and it's got a little lid. You can buy these at many local stores, brand new, empty, and then you can put these things into them. Now let's talk about some things going here. Now this one has been developed for here in the Arctic. It's been used, tested, and works. But you got to make sure that you set your coffee can kit or your survival kit up to your needs. But again, all this fits in here, and that's what's important. You don't want to have huge boxes in the back seat covering up, trying to take every precaution. Now, one of the things you want to have is you want to have some kind of sign that says, hey, you need help. All right? Something that can go on the car. This one's designed to go on your antenna. Some cars don't have that, but you can put it in the windshield, the back window, but something that says, hey, I need help. And that fits right here in the car. Nice and easy. Another thing you want to have is this is an emergency bag. It's kind of like a blanket. It's pretty small, compact. You can have one or two of these, and it'll give you that extra time. I mean, every little bit helps to give you that extra time out there. Fits right inside here. Another thing, you want to make sure that you have gloves. Always have a set of gloves on you. You should be wearing a set of gloves in the Arctic when it's cold. Kids should have them, but now you've always got an extra set right inside here. 550 cord. This is important to have. You never know when you do it. It can tie up things. It can restrain things. It can hold things. Really great to have and pretty inexpensive. Another great thing is this right here. Two things. One, we have what they call a tea light. Now this tea light, just one tea light in your car can warm your car as much as 10 degrees. Now we talked about that time from 10 degrees, then 10 below to 40 below. This is going to make that difference. Now we're talking 10 to 30 below or something like that. It's going to give you that extra time. Now, I don't recommend burning a whole bunch of them across your car. It could cause a fire, but just one or two across the dash, you should be all right. Another thing is really important, is good to have, is cotton balls. And you take some cotton balls and some petroleum jelly, you can put them in a container, keep them separate and do it when you need it. As you put it in there, and this will burn. It burns at a nice low temperature, but enough to provide heat. And you can keep this in your car. Again, it fits the coffee can. Make sure you got some waterproof matches. Very important to have. It's moisture out there. Have a set of these. They also make containers that you can put these in. A whistle. Whistle is very important. This is a cheap, inexpensive whistle. Great to have. It gets people's attention. Good to have. We talked about candles. Here's another extra candle that you can have. And the important thing about using a candle like this is make sure that you've got something that can set in and not fall over. You don't want to start a fire inside the car. So you want a good stable base and something you can put this in. Having a knife is extremely important. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. Here's one of those little utility knives. They have little tools on it. They make all kinds of different brands at different costs. You don't need to spend a lot of money. It's just a survival kit for inside your car. First aid kit. Another first aid kit is important. It's got some of the bare necessities, little bandages, a few little ointment things. Works perfect for what you need inside the car, just for basic first aid. Hand warmers. Hand warmers are used all over up here. They're great for your toes, for your feet, for your hands. Pretty inexpensive, and you should always have these. Have a couple of these in the car. They don't freeze, they don't go bad, and you can keep them inside your little kit here. A compass. Here in Alaska, especially up here north, you're really 20 minutes from being in the middle of nowhere. You can get lost in snowstorms real easy and low visibility. So having just a cheap, inexpensive compass handy can really make a difference. Next thing, we got a little fire starter here. A little bit of spark off of this can help light those cotton balls. Really good to have. Again, inexpensive. Pick it up locally. Fits inside your coffee can. The next thing is really, really great to have, and I love this little tool, and they're pretty inexpensive, is this is kind of it's a hand-powered battery, or hand-powered flashlight, but you just turn it, and you've got light. And that's really important to have, because the batteries won't freeze and they won't die on you. Another great thing is, here in Alaska, cell phone coverage isn't all that great. And you can be out in the middle of nowhere and not have cell phone coverage. But if you do, the battery can go dead real quick. So how do you charge it? Car's broken. Well, right here you have a USB port that you can plug your cell phone into, and then you can rotate this and actually charge it up. Now, it takes a little bit, it takes a little while to do that, but again, the bottom line is you can do it long enough that you can actually make a phone call on a cell phone. Again, very great to have. All right, the last thing here is you take your cleats. These cleats here go on the bottom of your feet, gives you that extra traction when you're out there to get around, and it's a great, great thing to have. And again, taking these, put them inside your safety kit, puts it all together, keep it inside your car. I don't recommend putting it in the trunk, because if you can't get the trunk, you can't get your survival kit. Keep it somewhere handy where you can get to, especially wintertime. Another great thing about this kit is in the summertime you can transfer to your ATV or your trailer or whatever else and use it wherever you go. Now there's a couple other tools that I want to talk about that are really important. Now this is one of my favorite ones, and you may have seen this on public transportation next to the windows. What it has here is a little piece here that if you need to break out the glass in your car, you can do that. In addition, on the back side, it's got a little flashlight, which is always great to have extra flashlights. And then if you're in a position where your seatbelt's tidy, you can't get loose, it's got a nice little cut on the end of here, and you can actually cut your seatbelt and cut it off if you actually have to. Great little thing to have. Keep it in your glove compartment, keep it handy, and have it there year round. You also want to make sure at times you may need to clear your windshield. You need to see when help is coming. So having a nice good ice scraper, good to have. Keep it in the glove box and always handy. There you have your Arctic survival kit. What's important about it? Time. How long can you be out there in those cold weather? The longer time you have, the better chance of survival.
There's one thing that can help you when you're driving on slippery ice and snow more than anything else, and that's knowledge, knowing what to do to stay in control. For that potentially life-saving knowledge, we went to Steamboat Springs, Colorado, to the renowned Bridgestone Winter Driving School.
We've poured about 40,000 gallons of water on every track, allowed them to freeze. So we push snow on top of them every morning, and typically it gets snowed on a lot out here, but unfortunately you are driving on solid ice.
And driving on solid ice is just about as treacherous as you can get. Here, drivers learn how to deal with those situations that can get you in serious trouble. Turns can be especially difficult, and when you're turning a corner, you may have to deal with something called oversteer. It's when your car is steering too much.
So if you turn in and suddenly the car goes out of control, don't forget where you're looking. Steer to get there. Maybe even have to add some throttle to put some additional grip on the rear tires of the car to regain control after an oversteer.
On the other hand, if your car tries to go straight when you turn, that's called understeer.
So if we happen to be driving along, come into an icy corner, and steer with the steering wheel too much, we might find that we have to reduce the amount of steering. Suddenly, the front tires can regain grip and carry us where we'd like to go.
Regaining that grip between the surface and your tires is key in maintaining control. You might think that the colder it gets, the more slippery it is. Well, it's not exactly true. When the temperature's at 32 degrees, it's very slippery because the water is still wet. The closer to zero it gets, the more grippy the road becomes and the more traction you have. Bringing your car to a controlled stop is also vital. Many newer cars have anti-lock brakes, and you should know if yours has them.
The way to use ABS, anti-lock brakes, is just to stand on the pedal with a lot of pressure, and that lets the system know you want maximum braking from all the tires, and it can be working on all the tires. Alternatively, if you don't have ABS or the ABS malfunctions, you might have to pump the brakes, and we call it cadence braking, where we're pumping the brake up to the point of lockup and then releasing it suddenly.
Nearly all vehicles come with all-season tires, okay in snow, but they don't provide the grip winter tires do. Winter tires are made with a different rubber compound that grips better in cold weather and an optimized tread width. I tried an SUV with all-season tires and found it skidded more and didn't stop as surely.
Takes a while, doesn't it? Oh, and you can see how sideways the car is on these tires. Yeah.
But in an SUV with winter tires, the improvement was noticeable. Now, you may never drive in conditions quite as harsh as these, but it's always good to know there are things you can do to help you be as in control as possible. In Steamboat Springs, Colorado, for AutoNet TV, I'm Scott Newell.
Hi, it's Robert Tanner again from the Installation Safety Office. I want to talk to you about taking care of your kids in the Arctic. Well, again, living in the Arctic has its challenges, and I spoke before that time is of the essence. How much time can they be out there, and how long can they survive? Well, kids don't stop playing out here at 20 below. They're still out there running around playing, and they're going to have the cold weather gear wearing it. But what's important is that you dress them in layers. And what I mean by layers is that they're out there running around, they're going to get hot. They're going to want to take their jackets off or unzip. We don't want just a t-shirt underneath. They're going to have another layer of protection there. No single piece of clothing is going to keep them protected at 20, 30, 40 below. They've got to be in layers. So you're going to have that heavy jacket with a long sleeve shirt, and maybe a t-shirt up underneath that. So when they open up that jacket, they still have some protection. Make sure they got extra gloves, maybe a liner inside the mittens. Mittens are actually better for keeping their hands warm than gloves are. You don't get to use the fingers so much, but it's really much better for them. The other thing is, when you talk about socks, extra pair of socks, your pants. You may have snow pants, but make sure you've got a good set of pants underneath and maybe some long johns. So again, you may want to open those legs up and air it out a little bit, but they've got the layers. Another thing important is just because it's a brand name or it's expensive doesn't mean it's built for the Arctic. There's a lot of products out there that are great for the lower 48, but not so much here. One of the benefits up here also is there's a lot of clothing stores up here that are suited for Alaska. It's a lot less expensive. There's used clothing stores. And so don't just go buy a lot of money, spend a lot of money on equipment down there until you get up here if you can. Now, a good heavy jacket just to get you started might be a good idea. But again, dress them in layers. Talk to them, teach them about what it takes to live in the Arctic. They're going to get used to it and they're not always going to want to wear it. But you got to talk to them and teach them. That's what it's going to take to make sure your kids stay warm in the Arctic.
Ready to go?
Yep, let's go.
Where are you going, sweetie?
For a hike.
Dressed like that? I don't think so. Haven't you heard of frostbite?
Ugh. Where'd you get those?
Oh, that's pretty gross.
Right. So put on some gloves, proper hat, warm socks, and layered clothing. I don't want you coming home with this.
Okay, okay.
Good. Have a nice time, sweetie.
When you go out in winter, take 5 and avoid frostbite.
Doc, I had this weird dream. I was jogging along this wintry road, and suddenly I was naked and surrounded by a bunch of strangers all laughing.
And you had been wearing proper attire to avoid cold weather injury, gloves, loose layered clothing, and you kept dry?
Of course.
Well, you obviously know how to avoid cold weather injury. Now, tell me about your first drill sergeant.
Winter can be a nightmare. Take 5 and avoid cold weather injuries.
From the Installation Safety Office, and I want to talk to you about your pets. Take care of your pets as I take care of children. You got to make sure they stay warm in the Arctic. You may have to do things like get coats for them, and you can make them or you can buy them from local stores, and you want to have little booties. They're fit over there, pretty inexpensive, easy to make. You can buy them locally. But you want to make sure that you have those because extreme temperatures, they can get frostbite on the feet and they can damage the pads of their feet. So make sure they're prepared. Again, time is of the essence when you talk about pets or people. How long can they be in those cold temperatures? You just don't want to have them out in the backyard running around. You got to monitor them. You know, look, do they have water? Is the water frozen? Don't leave it out there. So make sure you take care of them. The other thing is that when you got a dog that's got short legs like this and you got snow this deep, you got a problem needing to go outside and do business. So make sure you have an area designated just for them. It's going to help you too because it's going to consolidate that area and make it easier to keep up on and not offend your neighbors. So again, pay attention to your animals out there, dress them, keep them warm, make Fido happy.